The massive alien ships appeared in Earth's sky on a Tuesday morning. They came without warning, their dark hulls blocking out the sun over major cities across the globe. The ships were enormous, each one the size of a small mountain, and they hung in the air like metal clouds that should not exist. Captain Hyunwoo stood in the command center of the Earth Defense Force headquarters in Seoul. He watched the screens showing radar data that made no sense. The ships had appeared instantly, as if they had simply materialized from nothing. His hand shook slightly as he reached for the emergency communication device. "All stations, this is Captain Hyunwoo. We have confirmed alien contact. Repeat, we have confirmed alien contact." The words felt strange in his mouth. For decades, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it was hanging over their cities like a threat. Dr. So-young ran through the corridors of the Seoul National University Xenobiology Lab. She had been studying theoretical alien life for years, but she never expected to use her knowledge in real life. Her phone rang constantly with calls from government officials and military leaders. Everyone wanted to know what these aliens might want. She burst into her lab and immediately began setting up equipment to analyze any alien transmissions. Her computer screens filled with data as satellites around the world turned their sensors toward the massive ships. "Computer, scan all frequencies for artificial signals," she said breathlessly. The computer beeped. Multiple signals detected. Translating. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Edge. He looked down at the blue and green planet below with satisfaction. This was going to be easy. The planet's inhabitants had only just developed nuclear weapons. According to Galactic Hegemony records, species at this technology level always surrendered within hours of first contact. "Sub-Commander Rixval, prepare the standard surrender demand," Vextar ordered. His voice carried the confidence of someone who had done this many times before. "Use their primitive languages. Keep it simple so their small brains can understand." Rixval nodded and began typing on his console. The message was always the same. "Surrender now. Accept relocation to farming. World sacrificed 60% of the population to feed the Catherian war machine. It was efficient and had worked on over 200 worlds. Message prepared, Admiral. Broadcasting on all frequencies." Back on Earth, Dr. So-young's equipment suddenly came alive. Her screens filled with alien text that slowly transformed into multiple human languages as the translation software worked. "To the primitive inhabitants of the third planet," the message began. "You are now subjects of the Galactic Hegemony. Surrender immediately. Your leaders must present themselves for processing. Resistance is futile. You have one rotation of your planet to comply." So-young stared at the message. It was exactly what she had feared. These aliens were not here for peaceful contact. They were conquerors. She grabbed her phone and called Captain Hyunwoo. "Captain, you need to see this message immediately. These aliens are not friendly." Hyunwoo arrived at the lab within minutes. He read the alien message and felt his blood turn cold. "How many ships are there?" "Satellite data shows 50 ships worldwide. Each one is positioned over a major population center." So-young pulled up a world map showing red dots over cities. Seoul, Tokyo, New York, London, Moscow, Beijing. They've positioned themselves perfectly for maximum psychological impact. Hyunwoo studied the map. "What do we know about their technology?" "Their ships are massive, but they're not showing any obvious weapons. They seem to be trying to intimidate us rather than immediately attack." So-young switched to another screen. "But Captain, I've been analyzing their transmission patterns. I found something interesting." She pulled up a database of theoretical alien behavior patterns. "I've been comparing their communication style to successful conquest patterns from human history. These aliens are following a very specific formula. They expect immediate surrender." "What happens if we don't surrender?" So-young looked grim. "Based on their message structure and the positioning of their ships, I believe they're prepared to demonstrate their power, probably by destroying something important." In the United Nations building in New York, emergency sessions were being held in multiple languages. Tae-min, a mid-level diplomat from South Korea, found himself in the middle of the most important meeting in human history. The Secretary General had called for immediate consultation with all member nations. The alien message demands that our leaders present themselves for processing. Tae-min read from the translation. But they seem to assume we have a single world government. The American representative leaned forward. Should we tell them that we have 195 different nations? The Russian delegate laughed grimly. They want our leaders. Which ones? We cannot even agree on trade deals, and now they want us to choose who speaks for all humanity. Tae-min looked around the room at the faces of representatives from around the world. Perhaps that is exactly what we should tell them. They clearly do not understand how humanity works. The British representative nodded. Tae-min is right. These aliens seem to expect a simple surrender from a single authority. What if we simply explain that Earth does not work that way? Within hours, a response was prepared. Tae-min was chosen to deliver it because his diplomatic experience and calm demeanor made him the best choice for first contact. The message was broadcast on the same frequencies the aliens had used. To the representatives of the Galactic Hegemony, Tae-min's message began. We have received your communication. However, there seems to be a misunderstanding. Earth does not have a single leader or government. We have 195 sovereign nations, each with their own governments and leaders. If you wish to negotiate, you will need to speak with all of them. The message continued. We suggest you send representatives to the United Nations headquarters in New York, where we can arrange proper diplomatic contact with all Earth governments. On the Dominion's edge, Admiral Vextar stared at the human response in disbelief. 195 governments? That is impossible. No intelligent species divides itself so foolishly. Sub-Commander Rixeval checked his records. Admiral, our database shows no record of any species maintaining multiple governments after achieving nuclear capability. They always unite under a single authority by this technological level. Vextar felt a moment of uncertainty. In 300 years of conquest, the Galactic Hegemony had never encountered a species that claimed to have multiple governments. It violated every pattern in their tactical database. Perhaps they are lying, Rixeval suggested, trying to confuse us while they prepare their defenses. Or perhaps they are genuinely too primitive to understand the benefits of unified leadership, Vextar replied. Either way, it changes nothing. Send a shuttle to this United Nations location. We will speak to their leaders and explain reality to them. Dr. So-Young worked frantically in her lab, analyzing every piece of data about the alien ships. She had called in favors from astronomers, physicists, and computer scientists around the world. Everyone was sharing data freely, united by the knowledge that humanity's survival might depend on understanding these aliens. The ships are not just positioning themselves over cities, she told Captain Hyunwoo during one of his regular visits. They are scanning everything. Our satellites, our communication networks, our military installations. They are gathering intelligence. Hyunwoo looked at the data streams flowing across her screens. What are they looking for? I think they are trying to understand our technology level and military capabilities. But here is what worries me. So-Young highlighted specific patterns in the alien scans. They are only looking at obvious military targets, nuclear missile silos, Air Force bases, naval ports. They are not scanning civilian infrastructure. Why is that worrying? Because it suggests they have done this before, many times. They know exactly what to look for because they follow the same pattern every time they conquer a new world. So-Young turned to face him. Captain, I do not think these aliens are explorers or even typical invaders. I think they are harvesters. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Harvesters, beings who traveled from world to world, taking what they needed and leaving nothing behind. Captain Hyunwoo felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. As one of the highest-ranking military officers in South Korea, he would play a crucial role in whatever happened next. He thought about his family, his friends, all the people who were going about their normal lives while alien ships hung overhead like swords waiting to fall. Dr. So-Young, I need you to continue analyzing their technology. Look for weaknesses, anything we can use." He paused at the door. "And, Doctor? Do not tell anyone else about your harvester theory. Not yet. People are scared enough already." As the first day of alien contact came to an end, humans around the world watched their televisions and phones for news. The aliens had not attacked, but they had not left either. They simply waited, their massive ships silent and motionless, in the sky. In Seoul, Tokyo, New York, and dozens of other cities, people looked up at the alien vessels and wondered what tomorrow would bring. Some prayed, some protested, some prepared for war. But the alien shuttle landed in Central Park just after sunrise. It was smaller than the massive ships hanging over the cities, but still impressive. The craft was sleek and silver, with no visible engines or weapons. It touched down on the grass, without making a sound, as if it weighed nothing at all. Sub-Commander Rixville stepped out of the shuttle wearing what looked like ceremonial armor. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large black eyes. Behind him came 4 alien soldiers, their weapons clearly visible, but not pointed at anyone. They had come to accept humanity's surrender, not to fight a war. Taemin waited for them with a small group of UN officials and translators. He wore his best diplomatic suit and carried a briefcase full of documents. He had spent the entire night preparing for this meeting, studying everything humanity knew about first contact protocols. "Welcome to Earth," Taemin said as the aliens approached. "I am Taemin, representing the United Nations. We appreciate your willingness to meet with us." Rixaval looked around at the small group of humans with confusion. "Where are your planetary leaders, your military commanders, your dominant authorities?" "I am a duly appointed representative of the United Nations, which speaks for all member nations of Earth," Taemin replied calmly. "Shall we go inside to discuss the situation?" The alien's face showed clear irritation. "There is nothing to discuss. You will surrender immediately. Your species will be relocated to designated farming worlds. 60% of your population will be processed to feed our war machine. These are standard terms. All species accept them." Taemin nodded politely. "I understand those are your standard terms. However, I have a counter-proposal from the governments of Earth." He opened his briefcase and pulled out a formal document. "We propose that you leave our solar system immediately and never return. In exchange, we will not destroy your ships and kill all of your crews." The silence that followed was complete. Even the birds in Central Park seemed to stop singing. Rixval stared at the human diplomat as if he had just spoken in an alien language. You are threatening us," Rixval finally managed to say. "You are a primitive species with basic nuclear weapons. We have conquered 200 worlds. You cannot threaten us." Taemin smiled politely. "Sub-Commander, I think there may be some misunderstanding about our capabilities. Would you like me to demonstrate?" Before Rixval could respond, Taemin spoke into a small radio. "This is Diplomat 1. Execute Demonstration Alpha. High above the Earth, satellites that had been placed in orbit for communications and weather monitoring suddenly began moving. They had always been there, invisible and ignored by the alien scanners. But now they revealed their true purpose, as they shifted into attack positions around the alien ships. On the flagship Dominion's Edge, alarms began blaring. Admiral Vextar rushed to his command console as his officers shouted reports. "Admiral, we have movement from the planet's orbital." "Objects! Confirmed, sir. Over 300 satellites are changing position." "They appear to be targeting us?" Vextar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The primitive satellites were moving with precision and purpose. How was this possible? The planet's inhabitants had barely achieved spaceflight. Dr. Minna sat in her laboratory beneath the streets of Seoul, watching readouts from her quantum entanglement bombs. She had been working on theoretical physics that other species had never even imagined. While the aliens expected nuclear weapons, humanity had developed something far more advanced. "Quantum phase alignment at 98%, she reported, into her headset. "All bombs are ready for deployment. They will pass through alien shields like they do not exist." Her research had been theoretical until yesterday. The appearance of alien ships had given her team the motivation to turn theory into reality in just 24 hours. The bombs used quantum entanglement to phase through any known type of defensive shield. The aliens would never see them coming. Captain Hyunwoo stood in the Earth Defense Force Command Center, watching displays showing military positions around the world. Every nation had contributed to the defense effort. Nuclear submarines moved into position beneath the alien ships. Fighter jets waited in hidden bunkers. Ground-based missiles targeted the massive vessels from multiple angles. "All stations report ready," announced his communication officer. "We have confirmed targeting solutions on all 50 alien ships." Hyunwoo nodded grimly. Humanity had spent one day preparing for war while the aliens had spent one day assuming surrender was inevitable. Now they would learn the difference between a conquered species and one that refused to give up. Wu Jin, a former Special Forces operative, had spent the night studying every piece of footage from the alien ships. He had access to military databases from around the world, showing him how the aliens had conquered other species. What he found was both encouraging and terrifying. "They always fight the same way," he reported to the Joint Military Command. "Every single conquest follows an identical pattern. Massive ships, intimidation, demand for surrender, then overwhelming force if surrender is refused." He switched to another screen showing tactical analysis. But here is the important part. Every species they conquered fought the same way too. Large-scale conventional warfare, nuclear exchanges, direct confrontation with their superior technology. The room full of military leaders listened intently. "What are you suggesting?" asked the American general. "I am suggesting that these aliens have never fought a species like us," Wu Jin continued. "They have never faced guerrilla warfare, asymmetric tactics, or unpredictable strategies. They expect us to fight like every other species they have conquered. They are wrong." Back in Central Park, Rixaval was struggling to understand what was happening. The human satellites were now clearly armed and targeting his ships. This was impossible according to every tactical database the Galactic Hegemony possessed. "How did you hide weapons in simple communication satellites?" he demanded. Taemin shrugged. "We did not hide them. We built them that way from the beginning. Every satellite we launched in the past 5 years was designed to be both a communication device and a weapon. We have been preparing for this day, without knowing when it would come. But our scanners showed only primitive nuclear technology. Your scanners looked for what you expected to find," Taemin replied. "Nuclear missiles in obvious silos, military bases with visible weapons. You scanned for the technology that every other species uses. You did not scan for the technology that only humans use." The alien commander felt a chill of uncertainty. This was not how conquest was supposed to work. The primitive species was supposed to be helpless and afraid, not calm and prepared. "You are bluffing," Rixaval said, but his voice lacked confidence. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships." Taemin checked his watch. "Sub-Commander, I gave you a demonstration of our satellite weapons. Now I will give you a demonstration of our defensive capabilities. Please observe your moon." Rixaval looked up at Earth's moon, visible in the morning sky. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the moon exploded. The explosion was massive, visible even in daylight. What had once been Earth's moon became an expanding cloud of debris and energy. The shockwave was so powerful that it could be felt on Earth as a slight tremor. Rixaval stared in horror. "You destroyed your own moon?" "That was not our moon," Taemin said calmly. "That was your weapons depot." The alien commander looked confused. "What weapons depot?" "The one you established on our moon yesterday. Your ships have been using it as a staging area for your invasion equipment." Taemin smiled politely. "We allowed you to set it up so we could destroy it along with half your fleet." Admiral Vextar watched his tactical display in growing panic. The explosion had indeed destroyed the weapons depot his forces had secretly established on the human moon. But more than that, the explosion had been precisely calculated to take out exactly 25 of his 50 ships. Half his fleet was gone in an instant. "How did they know about the depot?" he shouted at his officers. "It was cloaked and shielded." "Sir, it appears they have been monitoring all our activities since we arrived. Their technology is not what we expected. Vextar felt something he had never experienced in 3 centuries of conquest. Fear. These humans had just demonstrated capabilities that should not exist. They had hidden advanced weapons in plain sight, monitored classified alien operations, and destroyed half his fleet using their own moon as a weapon. "Send the signal," he ordered. "Call for reinforcements, all available ships." In her laboratory, Dr. So Young was analyzing the alien fleet's response to the moon explosion. The data confirmed her worst fears. "Captain Hyun-woo, you need to see this," she called over the communication system. "The alien ships are not retreating. They are calling for backup." The captain arrived within minutes. "How many more ships are coming?" "Based on their transmission patterns, I estimate at least 200 additional vessels. They are bringing their main battle fleet." So Young looked grim. "Captain, we surprised them, but we have not defeated them. They are going to try to crush us with overwhelming numbers." Hyun-woo nodded. "Then we need to be ready for Phase 2 of our defense plan." Around the world, human forces prepared for the real war. The first day had been about sending a message. The aliens now knew that humanity was not helpless. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as 500 warships emerged from hyperspace. The main battle fleet of the galactic hegemony had never known defeat. These massive vessels had crushed resistance on dozens of worlds and brought entire star systems to their knees. "All ships report ready for battle," his communication officer announced. "Fleet Admiral Kethavar is requesting immediate attack authorization." Vextar nodded grimly. The humans had embarrassed him by destroying half his reconnaissance fleet, but now they would face the full power of galactic civilization. No primitive species could stand against such overwhelming force. "Send the attack order," he commanded. "Show these humans what happens when they resist the hegemony." On Earth, Dawn sat in her cyber warfare bunker deep beneath Seoul. Around her, dozens of computer specialists worked frantically at their terminals. They were about to launch humanity's first digital assault against an alien civilization. "All teams report ready," Dawn announced into her headset. "Computer viruses are loaded and targeted. Beginning infiltration of alien networks in 3, 2, 1, execute." Her fingers flew across her keyboard as she launched attacks that had been designed specifically for alien computer systems. Human hackers had been breaking into each other's computers for decades. They had developed techniques that no other species in the galaxy had ever imagined. The viruses spread through the alien fleet's communication networks like wildfire. Within minutes, alien ships began reporting system failures, navigation errors, and weapons malfunctions. Some ships found their own weapons targeting their allies instead of Earth. "Multiple system failures across the fleet," shouted the technical officer on the Dominion's edge. "Our computers are being attacked by some kind of digital weapon." Fleet Admiral Kethvar stared at his malfunctioning displays in disbelief. "Digital weapons? What are digital weapons?" "Unknown, sir. Our databases have no record of any species using computer attacks as warfare. This technology does not exist in our tactical references." The Admiral felt a cold fear creeping through his body. These humans were using weapons that the galactic hegemony had never encountered. How was this possible? Colonel Jun-ho floated in the cargo bay of a human spacecraft, checking his equipment one final time. Around him, 50 of Earth's best Special Forces soldiers prepared for the most dangerous mission in human history. They were going to board an alien warship. "Remember, we fight in zero gravity while they do not," Jun-ho told his team. "Use that advantage. Move fast, strike hard, and show them what human soldiers can do when they are angry." The human ship approached one of the smaller alien vessels that had been disabled by the cyber attack. The aliens would expect a rescue mission, or perhaps an attempt to capture their technology. They would not expect a direct assault by soldiers who treated space combat as just another battlefield. "Boarding in 30 seconds, announced the pilot. "Good hunting, Colonel." Jun-ho and his team used magnetic boots and jetpacks to cross the gap between ships. They cut through the alien hull with plasma torches and poured into the vessel like water through a broken dam. The alien crew had never seen anything like human soldiers in zero gravity. Junho's team moved through the ship's corridors like dancers, using walls and ceilings as floors, appearing from directions that the aliens never expected. They fought with improvised weapons, showed no fear of death, and seemed to enjoy the chaos of battle. "Contact! Humans are boarding the ship," screamed an alien officer into his communication device. "They are moving through zero gravity like they were born in space. Request immediate assistance." But assistance was not coming. Half the alien fleet was dealing with computer viruses, and the other half was discovering that Earth's moon had not been their only target. Bahram coordinated the largest logistics operation in human history from her command center in Geneva. She had spent years studying supply chain management and chaos theory. Now she was using that knowledge to make human actions completely unpredictable. "Redirect all transport ships to Vector 7 Alpha," she ordered. "Send false fleet movements to the aliens through their own communication channels. Make them think we have twice as many ships as we actually have." Her team created fake radio chatter, generated false radar signatures, and sent misleading intelligence through captured alien communication systems. The aliens had spent centuries fighting species that followed logical, predictable battle plans. Humans did not. "Alien fleet is splitting their forces," reported her intelligence officer. "They are responding to our fake threats in 17 different locations." Bahram smiled grimly. "Excellent. While they chase shadows, our real forces can hit them where they are weakest." Youngsu had been secretly mobilizing every weapon on Earth while Taemin conducted diplomatic talks with the aliens. The negotiations had been a complete deception, designed to buy time for humanity's real preparations. Now, as the alien battle fleet spread out to respond to dozens of false threats, Youngsu revealed the true extent of Earth's defenses. Hidden bases on asteroids opened fire with railguns. Submarines launched nuclear torpedoes from Earth's oceans. Fighter jets emerged from underground bunkers that the aliens had never detected. "All units, this is Commander Youngsu. Execute Operation Surprise Party. Show our guests what human hospitality really looks like." The response was immediate and devastating. The aliens found themselves under attack from directions they had never considered. Weapons emerged from what they had thought was empty space. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. Dr. Minna watched her. Quantum entanglement bombs phased through alien shields as if they did not exist. The weapons appeared inside enemy ships and detonated, causing massive internal damage. The aliens had no defense against weapons that could simply ignore their protective barriers. "Quantum bombs are performing perfectly," she reported. "Alien shields are useless against phased matter. Their ships are being destroyed from the inside." Her laboratory shook as alien return fire struck the surface above. But Dr. Minna was not worried. The humans had built their most important facilities, deep underground, protected by miles of rock and metal. The aliens could bomb the surface all they wanted. The real war was being fought from humanity's hidden strongholds. Fleet Admiral Kethvar watched his beautiful battle fleet being torn apart by weapons he did not understand, tactics he had never seen, and strategies that made no logical sense. In 4 hours of battle, he had lost over 100 ships to an enemy that should not have been able to resist for 4 minutes. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the planet," his communication officer reported nervously. "Put it through," Kethvar ordered. The face that appeared on his screen was that of a human female in military uniform. She looked tired but determined, and her eyes held no fear whatsoever. "I am Commander Youngsu of the Earth Defense Force," she said calmly. "I wanted to personally congratulate you on your impressive fleet. It must have taken decades to build so many beautiful ships." Kethvar found his voice. "Human, you cannot defeat the galactic hegemony. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick." Youngsu smiled coldly. "Admiral, I think you misunderstand the situation. You came here expecting to harvest a primitive species. Instead, you found a species that has been preparing for this moment since we first looked up at the stars and wondered, who else might be out there?" She gestured to something off-screen. "We have been reverse engineering your technology since your first ship appeared. We have been studying your tactics from the battles you fought against other species. and we have been preparing weapons specifically designed to kill your kind of life. That is impossible. You have only had access to our technology for 2 days. Admiral, humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. When our survival is at stake, we can accomplish in hours what other species take years to achieve. Young-Su's smile grew wider. Would you like a demonstration? Before Kethavar could respond, alarms began blaring throughout his ship. Sir, our own weapons are targeting us. The humans have somehow gained control of our systems. Dayun's cyber attack had finally reached the flagship. Human viruses were now controlling alien weapons, turning the most powerful ships in the fleet against each other. The Galactic Hegemony was literally fighting itself. How is this possible? Kethavar screamed. It is possible because we are not like the other species you have conquered, Young-Su replied. We do not fight fair. We do not follow rules. We do not surrender when the odds are against us. We fight to win, and we use every weapon we can create, steal, or imagine. Hansol had spent the battle analyzing captured alien soldiers, studying their biology and psychology. What she discovered was both fascinating and useful. The aliens were physically superior to humans in almost every way, but they had one critical weakness. They have never experienced fear, she reported to the military command. Every species they conquered surrendered quickly, so they have never had to fight a truly dangerous enemy. They do not know how to handle terror. Her recommendation was immediately implemented. Human forces began using psychological warfare tactics that had never been seen in galactic conquest. They played recordings of alien screams on captured communication channels. They left alien bodies in positions that High Command of the Galactic Hegemony had never called an emergency session before. In 5,000 years of expansion across the galaxy, no single world had ever required their direct attention. But Earth was different. Earth was wrong. Earth was breaking every rule of conquest that had worked for millennia. Supreme Admiral Zexthul looked at the reports streaming in from the human system with growing disbelief. 2 entire fleets had been destroyed or disabled. The Praetorian Guard, the elite soldiers who had never known defeat, were requesting emergency evacuation from a primitive planet. It was impossible, and yet it was happening. Send the Praetorian Guard, Zexthul ordered. All of them. Every enhanced soldier we have. If these humans want to fight, we will show them what real warriors look like. The order went out across the galaxy. For the first time in their history, the Galactic Hegemony was committing every elite soldier they possessed to the conquest of a single world. The Praetorian Guard numbered in the hundreds of thousands, genetically enhanced super soldiers who had crushed resistance on dozens of worlds. They had never failed. They could not fail. Failure was not programmed into their enhanced genetics. Hansol had been working without sleep for 3 days, studying captured alien prisoners and analyzing their biology. What she had discovered would change everything about how humans understood their place in the galaxy. Captain Hyunwoo, you need to see this immediately, she called from her makeshift laboratory. I have been studying the evolutionary history of every species the aliens have conquered, and I found something incredible. Captain Hyunwoo arrived to find Hansol surrounded by biological data, evolutionary trees, and comparative anatomy charts. She looked exhausted but excited. Every species the Galactic Hegemony has conquered evolved in stable environments, she began. Stable climates, stable food sources, stable predator-prey relationships. They all developed similar survival strategies, based on social cooperation and submission to authority. She pulled up a holographic display showing evolutionary timelines. But humans are different. We evolved on a world of constant change. Ice ages, climate shifts, natural disasters, mass extinctions. We survived by becoming adaptable, persistent, and aggressive. Hyunwoo studied the data. What does this mean for the war? It means we are exactly the wrong species for them to try to conquer, Hansol replied. Every other species they fought had biological triggers for submission. When faced with superior force, their instincts told them to surrender. Our instincts tell us to fight harder. She switched to another display showing brain scans. We are persistence hunters, Captain. We evolved to chase our prey until it died of exhaustion. We do not give up. We do not surrender. And when we are cornered, we become the most dangerous things in the galaxy. Dr. Eugene had been studying the psychology of captured alien soldiers, trying to understand how they thought and fought. Her findings were disturbing and encouraging at the same time. The aliens have been using the same conquest strategy for thousands of years because it has always worked, she reported to the Joint Military Command. They show overwhelming force, demand surrender, and accept submission. Their enemies always follow the same pattern because they are all psychologically similar. She pulled up psychological profiles of different alien species. But humans break their psychological model completely. We have something they have never encountered before: the ability to become more dangerous when threatened. Every other species becomes more submissive under pressure. We become more creative, more violent, and more unpredictable. The implications were staggering. The aliens were not just fighting a different species. They were fighting a completely different type of consciousness, one that their tactics were specifically designed to fail against. Siak Jin had turned the ruins of Seoul into a nightmare for alien ground forces. His resistance cells used tactics that did not exist in any alien military database. They fought from sewers, struck from underground tunnels, and disappeared into crowds of civilians who all looked the same to alien eyes. They expect us to have military uniforms and clear command structures, he explained to his fighters as they prepared another ambush. They expect us to fight like soldiers because every other species has soldiers. But we are not soldiers. We are citizens who refuse to be conquered. His latest trap was simple and devastating. The aliens would chase human fighters into what appeared to be a dead-end alley. But the alley was actually a carefully constructed kill zone. When the aliens entered, human fighters would emerge from hidden positions in the walls, the sewers, and even from underground bunkers directly beneath the alien feet. The aliens are learning to fear our cities, Siak Jin reported to command. They control the air, but they cannot control the ground without coming down to fight us face to face, and when they do that, we kill them. Namju had become a legend among the human resistance. She had learned to fight in captured alien armor, using their own weapons against them. More importantly, she had learned to move through their defenses, like a ghost. The Praetorian Guard had trained for centuries to fight conventional enemies. They had enhanced strength, enhanced speed, and enhanced intelligence. But they had never trained to fight someone who refused to follow the rules of engagement. Namju did not fight fair. She used civilian disguises to get close to her targets. She turned alien technology against itself. She made every piece of equipment a potential weapon and every innocent situation a potential trap. One human female has eliminated an entire Praetorian squad, reported the alien commander in charge of Seoul's occupation. She appears to be using our own armor and weapons, but she fights like no soldier we have ever encountered. Deploy additional squads, came the response from orbit. She is only one human. But Namju was not just one human. She was the product of a species that had turned warfare into an art form, that had spent thousands of years developing new ways to kill each other, and that treated every conflict as a learning experience for the next one. When the additional Praetorian squads arrived, they found her waiting for them. She had turned the entire building into a weapon, rigging it with captured alien explosives and human improvisation. When the dust settled, 12 more elite alien soldiers were dead, and Namju had vanished into the city's underground. Insu had been working in a secret laboratory beneath the mountains of Switzerland, using captured alien technology and biological samples to create something that had never existed before: human-alien hybrid weapons. We cannot match their technology directly, he explained to the scientists working under him. But we can make their technology work against them. We can create weapons that use alien physics but human creativity. His latest creation was a biological weapon specifically designed to target alien physiology. It would be harmless to humans but devastating to the genetic modifications that made Praetorian Guards so powerful. The weapon targets their enhanced nervous system, Insu reported to the military command. It will turn their genetic advantages into weaknesses. Their enhanced reflexes will become uncontrollable spasms. Their enhanced intelligence will become confusion and panic. The weapon was distributed to resistance cells around the world. Within hours, reports began coming in of Praetorian guards suffering mysterious system failures. Their genetic enhancements, which had made them unstoppable for centuries, were becoming liabilities. Supreme Admiral Zexthul watched the reports from Earth with growing horror. His elite forces were not just losing, they were being systematically destroyed by weapons and tactics that should not exist. The humans were not fighting like any species the galactic hegemony had ever encountered. "Sir, the Praetorian Guard is requesting immediate evacuation," his communication officer reported nervously. "They say the humans have developed biological weapons that specifically target our genetic enhancements." Zexthul felt something he had never experienced in 5,000 years of conquest. Doubt. The humans had done more than resist. They had studied their enemies, learned their weaknesses, and created weapons specifically designed to kill them. It was beyond unprecedented. It was terrifying. "How is this possible?" he asked. "They have had access to our technology for less than a week. How can they create genetic weapons so quickly?" His science officer consulted her reports. "Sir, according to our intelligence, humans have been experimenting with genetic engineering for decades. They have experience with biological warfare that we lack. They also appear to have theoretical knowledge of physics concepts that we have never developed." The implications were staggering. The humans were not just a primitive species with nuclear weapons. They were a species that had developed along completely different technological and scientific lines. They had knowledge that the galactic hegemony lacked, and they were using that knowledge to devastating effect. Young-Su coordinated the global defense effort from her command bunker deep beneath the Swiss Alps. Around her, screens showed battles, raging on every continent as human forces engaged alien invaders with tactics that grew more creative and deadly by the hour. "All resistance cells report success," announced her intelligence officer. "The alien biological weapons are having no effect on our forces, but our biological weapons are devastating their elite troops." Young-Su. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the largest gathering of alien leaders in recorded history. Representatives from 50 star systems attended, either in person or through quantum communication links. The topic was unprecedented: how to respond to the complete defeat of a galactic hegemony invasion force by a single primitive world. Supreme Admiral Zexthul stood before the assembled leaders, his once proud bearing now showing signs of exhaustion and fear. Behind him, holographic displays showed the devastating losses his forces had suffered at human hands. "The species of the third planet has proven resistant to standard conquest protocols," he reported, carefully choosing his words. "They employ weapons and tactics unknown to our databases. They appear to lack the normal psychological responses to dominance displays." Council Leader Vorthak leaned forward in his floating chair. "You are saying that one primitive world has defeated 3 of your fleets?" "They have not just defeated our fleets," Zexthul replied grimly. "They have captured our technology, decoded our communications, and somehow gained access to our most classified databases. They know everything about us, and they are using that knowledge against us." The silence that followed was deafening. For 5,000 years, the galactic hegemony had been the dominant force in their region of space. The idea that they could be defeated by a single world was beyond comprehension. Kyung-ho stood on the bridge of humanity's first interstellar warship, the Defiance. Built from captured alien technology and human innovation, the ship represented everything that made humans dangerous to the established galactic order. It moved like nothing else in space, fought with weapons the aliens had never seen, and was commanded by officers who treated interstellar warfare as just another problem to solve. "All systems report ready, Captain," announced his first officer, Yoon-ju. "We have confirmed targeting solutions on the alien staging area." Kyung-ho nodded as he studied the tactical display. The alien staging area was supposed to be a secret, hidden in the asteroid belt beyond Mars. But human intelligence had located it within hours of beginning their counterattack. Now, it was about to become the first alien installation destroyed by human forces outside of Earth's immediate vicinity. The aliens always fight the same way, he said to his crew. They expect their enemies to fight like naval forces, moving in predictable patterns and engaging in formal battles. They have never faced a species that treats space like a three-dimensional ocean where any direction can be up. The Defiance moved through space in ways that violated every tactical assumption the aliens had made about space combat. It used gravity wells as slingshots, hid behind asteroids that were too small to hide a ship, and struck from angles that should have been impossible. When the human ship appeared among the alien staging platforms, the defenders barely had time to react before their installations began exploding. Kyung-ho's crew moved through the alien formations like sharks through a school of fish, destroying everything in sight before vanishing into the darkness of space. Yun Young had been assigned the most important task in human history, converting alien technology for human use. Working in a captured alien facility on the far side of the moon, she led a team of engineers who were revolutionizing human capabilities with every passing hour. The aliens build everything according to standard patterns, she explained to her team as they worked to modify captured alien ships. They use the same designs, the same weapons, the same defensive systems across their entire empire. It makes their technology easy to maintain but also easy to counter once you understand it. Her latest project was converting an alien heavy cruiser into a human vessel. The process involved more than just changing the controls. It required rebuilding the ship's entire operating philosophy to match human tactical thinking. Remove all the standard weapon mountings, she ordered. Humans do not fight from fixed positions. We need weapons that can fire in any direction and move independently of the ship's orientation. The converted ships that emerged from her workshop were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They combined alien technology with human creativity, resulting in vessels that could outfight anything in the Galactic Hegemony fleet. Admiral Vexitar had barricaded himself in his command center, watching in horror as human forces systematically dismantled everything he had spent centuries building. The humans were not just defending their world anymore. They were actively hunting his forces throughout the solar system. "Sir, we are receiving another surrender demand from the humans," his communication officer reported nervously. "Put it through," Vexitar replied wearily. The face that appeared on his screen belonged to Dong Hyun, a former physics teacher who had somehow become one of humanity's most effective fleet commanders. His expression was calm and professional, but his eyes held the unmistakable confidence of someone who knew he was winning. "Admiral Vexitar, this is Fleet Admiral Dong Hyun of the Terran Space Force," he began. "I am contacting you to offer final terms for your surrender." Vexitar felt his rage building. "Surrender? You are one primitive species against an empire spanning 50 star systems." Dong Hyun smiled coldly. "Admiral, let me explain something to you. When you came to Earth, you expected to find prey. Instead, you found predators. Worse than that, you found predators who have been killing each other for thousands of years and getting very good at it." He gestured to something off-screen. "You have given us your technology, your tactical databases, and your communication codes. You have also given us something much more valuable, a reason to leave our home planet and explore the galaxy." "What are you saying?" "I am saying that humanity is no longer content to stay on one world. We are going to visit your other conquests. We are going to meet the species you have enslaved, and we are going to teach them how to fight back." The implications hit Vexitar like a physical blow. The humans were not just defending themselves. They were planning to export their revolution throughout the galaxy. Sang-woo had been making contact with other species throughout the galaxy, using captured alien communication technology to reach worlds that had been conquered by the Galactic Hegemony. His message was simple but revolutionary. The hegemony could be defeated. "People of Kepler 442b, this is Sang-woo of the human species," he broadcast to a world that had been enslaved for 200 years. "We know you have suffered under Galactic Hegemony rule. We are here to tell you that resistance is possible. We have defeated their forces and captured their technology. We can teach you to fight back." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Enslaved species across the galaxy began broadcasting messages to Earth, begging for help, sharing intelligence about hegemony forces, and asking for the weapons and knowledge needed to free themselves. Within days, humanity found itself at the center of the largest slave rebellion in galactic history. Dozens of species were rising up against their oppressors, and they all looked to Earth for leadership and support. Dr. Hai Jin had become humanity's leading expert on galactic politics and xenology. Her analysis of the galactic hegemony's structure revealed weaknesses that could be exploited on a massive scale. The hegemony rules through fear and technological superiority, she reported to the Joint Human Command, but their control is actually very fragile. They have never faced organized resistance because they have always conquered species individually. She pulled up a galactic map showing hegemony territories. If multiple species rebel simultaneously, the hegemony will not have enough forces to suppress them all. They have relied on overwhelming individual worlds, not fighting galaxy-wide wars. Her recommendation was immediately implemented. Humanity began coordinating resistance movements across dozens of worlds, sharing technology and tactical knowledge, with any species willing to fight for freedom. Supreme Admiral Zexthul received reports of rebellions breaking out across hegemony space. Worlds that had been peaceful for centuries were suddenly in open revolt. Slave species were using human-supplied technology to attack their oppressors. The galaxy was burning, and it was all because of one small blue planet. How did this happen? He demanded of his intelligence staff. How did one primitive world manage to destabilize our entire empire? Sir, the humans are not fighting like any species we have encountered, his chief analyst replied. They are not trying to conquer territory or accumulate resources. They are fighting to spread an idea. What idea? Freedom, sir. They believe that all intelligent species should be free to choose their own destiny. They are teaching other species that the hegemony can be defeated and showing them how to do it. The concept was so alien to hegemony, thinking that Zexthul struggled to understand it. The humans were not fighting for conquest or resources, they were fighting for a principle. It was unprecedented and terrifying. Donghyun commanded the human fleet as it moved through space toward the hegemony home system. Around him, ships from a dozen different species had joined the human forces. Former slaves had become allies, united by the common goal of ending hegemony rule forever. All ships report ready for final assault, announced his tactical officer. The hegemony has gathered their remaining forces at their homeworld for a last stand. Donghyun studied the tactical display showing the massive alien fleet defending their most